Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go live on S4 with Eric Cooper.
Prepare to go to the edge.
3 years. Over 1,000 followers. 30,000 downloads in the archives.
Welcome to S4. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it.
Join us every Saturday night at Spreaker.com and locally on KSVU 90.1. Don't forget to check out our new webpage at www.s-4radio.com.
Now sit back, open your mind, get ready, because this is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending where you are, and welcome to S4, the dark voice of the paranormal and conspiracy, coming to you live from the, Cole and Kayla's headquarters, here in the heart of the Cascade Mountains of eastern Skagit County and Washington State. S4 is the voice, where you will hear everything covering all aspects of the paranormal, from hauntings and alien interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between that makes you question reality. We also cover topics for safety, such as disaster and terrorist response and preparation, and veterans issues on Memorial and Veterans Days. So not only can you find S4 right here on Spreaker and s-4radio.com, but for our local listeners, also on KSVU 90.1 FM from 10 to 12 Saturdays with pre-recorded shows. So, you know what? It's November 23rd. Next week is Thanksgiving. Can you believe it? And then right after that is Christmas. Are you ready for Santa Claus?
Never.
Oh,
Absolutely
wait.
never.
Never. You
Nope.
gotta be ready for it. I'm ready for Krampus. You know what? I like Krampus. Krampus kicks ass.
That's
He's
because Krampus
cool.
is the only one that comes to see you.
So tonight with us, tonight we're talking alien abduction. Cryptomnesia couldn't make it. We will be rescheduling them probably after the first of the year, to be honest with you. When I know they're not going to be so busy, the holidays will be over, and they won't have to worry about work schedules and whatnot. So tonight, it's going to be, I was talking to Cole, and we were going to do, what were we going to do? Oh, Missing 401. And Cole said, you know what, we ain't done alien abduction in a while, so let's talk alien abduction. We like to do that every few months, because it is really a hot topic, despite what Homeland Security thinks. UFO reports aren't down, they're up. And just the fact that it hit Homeland Security reports kind of shocked me. What's Homeland Security got to do with UFOs? So anyway, tonight we're talking alien abduction. With us we have Cole Wegleitner, our co-host, and Don Davidson here on and off intermittently, our California consultant. He will be with us probably in about 30 to 45 minutes. Tonight he had a babysit, so he's here but he's not here. So, what do you know, Cole, about alien abduction? When you hear alien abduction, what do you think?
First thought always goes to The Fourth Kind.
Excellent. Excellent movie.
I think it was 2012 that movie came out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But before that was Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
And
they don't, but you know what's interesting about Close Encounters of the Third Kind? They don't really, that's not the topic. The topic is UFOs, but it doesn't sink in until the very end when all the people come off the craft. And they were all missing people. Right down to the pilots that were missing from the Bermuda Triangle.
To be honest with you, I never enjoyed that movie, so I never watched it
really?
More than once. Yeah. But I was 8 years old the first time I watched it.
Okay.
So, as an 8-year-old, it wasn't Mickey Mouse. I wasn't that into it. So, but honestly, everything in pop culture has led to the idea that the only ones that abduct humans are the Greys.
Right. And there's actually 16 documented races that... I'm just going to take these off. There's actually 16. When Don says something, let me know. They're uncomfortable. So what's interesting is there are 16 races that are documented, but there's many more than that. They're just not documented or talked about. And we'll go into that in a lot more detail, as well as the signs later on in the show.
Well, the cannibalistic ones you can't really document because no one comes back.
Right. And there's only one race that's cannibalistic that way. You know, because you all hear
that we know of.
Humans taste like chicken.
That we know of.
Oh, and that's true. So the first hour we're going to talk about really historical, and I'm going to say right up front, humans have been abducted since the beginning of civilization, but it's just hard to document. But if you look at the Mahabharata, which is Hindu text, you look at the Bible, you look at the Quran, UFOs in general are described and discussed through all historical religious texts. But you don't hear them talking so much about abduction. No. The first documented abduction case was actually in the 13th century in France. And there was also in England, there were a lot of kids that came up missing. And we're having technical issues here, folks. My extension cord keeps pulling out of the socket. Damn ghosts. Anyway.
The ghost isn't the one kicking the extension cord, Eric.
Right? I know it. So, you know, and the question people always ask is, why? Why would they take humans? What's the interest of humans? And, you know, the skeptics, of course, always say, well, why would any race that has to travel 11 billion, light years in galaxies come here just to take up a human? Well, who's saying they have to travel 11 billion light years when they can just jump in a wormhole and be here pretty...
Well, they're still traveling that long. But even if they're not, how far do we travel to, like, study different species?
And go see an AC/DC concert.
Right?
You know?
Well, no, but like, we go to China all the time when new species are discovered, or any other country.
Mm-hmm.
We send our scientists and our people to go check it out. Even if that species has been dead for millions of years, how many scientists Like paleontologists go all over the world to check out the bones of different dinosaurs that we don't have here.
Right. And perfect point. So, out of the 16 races that are documented, I've got them. So I've got all my notes right in front of me. And, you know, I find more validity to I'm going to turn my mic on this end down because we're both right here. There we go. I think...
that turns me down.
Does it?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, we'll just keep it like that. There we go. We're both loud. But, you know, it's just really you and I tonight, other than Don when he gets free. And if I get a message from Jamie or Will, then naturally we'll pull them in. But I find more validity to some of these 16 to 1700s cases because we didn't have airplanes back then. We didn't have, something that's going to be flying in the sky anymore now. So what they might have been seeing in some cases was the planets, because they didn't have the astronomical or the astronomy side, so they didn't know about the planets per se. So what other anomalies could they be seeing flying through the air back in the 1600s? Birds. Yeah. They didn't have weather balloons. They didn't have man-made objects that were flying through the air.
But there were condors. And that's not true if you lived near Da Vinci.
This is
or
true.
Or the Wright brothers.
So in the 1791, June 12th specifically, at 0500 near Alencon, France, at 5 a.m., some peasants perceived an enormous globe, apparently wrapped in flames. So see, okay, by that description alone, you could say maybe meteor. It was wrapped in flames. They didn't know what meteors were back then, possibly.
Yeah.
But it flew at a high speed with a hissing noise. It slowed down. Okay, I'm sorry, meteors don't slow down. Oscillated, and then fell on the crest of a hill, uprooting some plants on the hillside. It emitted such great heat that it started a brush fire. So it sounds like a meteor to me, other than meteors don't oscillate and they don't slow down on their own. Which the peasants brought under control. By evening, the sphere was still warm. A crowd, including some others, 2 mayors, a doctor, and 3 other authorities had assembled. A sort of door suddenly opened. Okay, it's not a meteor. And a person dressed in a skin-tight garment emerged. Seeing the crowd, he muttered something incomprehensible and ran into the woods. That sounds Mickey Mouse to me. One, looking at the races we have today, they don't speak audibly other than like we were discussing, I think last week, with electronic voices. They usually use telepathy, and, you hear voices in your mind when they do communicate. Shortly afterwards, the sphere silently exploded. That's an oxymoron. How do you silently explode? Throwing every direction fragments that burned into powder. A search for the mysterious man proved fruitless. A police inspector named Leabouf made a report to the Académie des Sciences, which did not take it seriously. Okay.
Those bastards.
Right. The crater in the hillside left by the sphere remained visible for years. So, now we go to late August. So the reports we're looking at right now are all pre-1900s. And we're going to read each one and discuss it. That one, yeah. But I'm not going to throw claims that, that just because the science department didn't take it seriously, they don't take it seriously today.
Well, hello there, Love Never Dies.
Hey, Love Never Dies. How you doing? And while I'm thinking about it, I need to figure out how to unblock somebody. I forgot about that. Oh, shoot. Okay. It didn't screw nothing up. Oh, screw it. Anyway. Oh, Shar. Ooh, long time. You haven't been here in a while. So, yeah, we have Shar in the chat room.
Yeah, long enough, I don't think I know you.
So she comes from Spaced Out Radio.
Oh, welcome.
So, late August of 1896 in Tamalpais Mountains, California, William Jordan wrote to the paper to say that in late August, while chasing a wounded deer in the Tamalpais Mountains, he came upon a circular brush pile, 10 feet high. A man was there who asked him his business, helped him find the deer, and helped him carry it into the brush corral. Inside was a perfect machine shop, an almost completed aircraft. I was sworn to secrecy and have kept it till this moment. So that sounds like a potential government project back in the 1800s, maybe. Not so much an alien craft. So, Shar, tonight we're talking alien abduction, but right now we're actually going through pre-1900s UFO reports involving humanoids.
Now, do you honestly think there was secret government projects in the 1800s?
No, but I don't think that sounds alien, is my point.
Okay.
Now, it could have been a pre-Wright brothers. Someone else was creating a flying craft. When did Wright brothers come out with their first airplane?
I think it was 1914.
So after the 1900s. So how many people could have been trying to create an airplane or a flying craft, pre-1800s? Probably
1903.
Probably
so
a few.
It was 1903, so you got to think, though, then, that could have been them.
That could have been the Wright brothers. But weren't they in the Midwest?
They were in North Carolina.
Yeah, there you go.
But maybe they lied and they actually made the first flight a lot earlier and went to California.
Hey, Kayla, go to bed. All right. So November 17th, 1896, in Sacramento, California, we've got R.L. Lowry. Heard a voice above him calling out, "Throw her up higher. She'll hit the steeple." That's weird. Evidently having mistaken the brewery tower for a church steeple.
And I would agree with you, Shard. The government is involved in abductions, but I don't think they would have been back then.
No, this is pre-1900. The first MyLab case, I'm really not sure when MyLabs actually started. They started breaking about the 1990s in the into the mainstream, when people started coming out talking about them. So then then Mr. Lowry sees a light, as if within a globular glass covering that magnified it. Above the light, he saw two men as if engaged in bicycling. I remember this case, actually. There's pictures of a flying bicycle. I think of E.T. Well, and the Cat from Outer Space. The Cat from Outer Space, they also flew in a motorcycle.
What Cat from Outer Space?
It's a Disney movie. Look for it. It's cool.
Man, they did too many drugs in the 70s.
Oh. And above them was a kind of mezzanine box capable of holding two or more people. Above this was a cigar-shaped body, with wheels at the sides. He heard one of the men say, "We will get to San Francisco about 12:30. So, yeah, again, I kind of see this as another, man experiment of flying. And so now we're at, again, in Stockton, California, November 18th or 25th, 1896. Colonel H.G. Shaw and Camille Spooner were driving home to Stockton from Lodi when their horse stopped in terror. There you go, animal response. And they saw 3 very slender men, nearly 7 feet tall. On being addressed, these beings spoke to each other in a warbling guttural language. Now that sounds valid. There are some races that speak that way.
But come on, so do the Scottish. If you talk to someone from, like, California or the United States in that era,
right,
and they met a Scotsman, heck, if they met a Newfoundlander.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But these guys had small hands with no fingernails and bare feet nearly twice as long as ours. This is a colonel.
Have you seen some of the Scotsmen out there?
With long, slender, prehensile toes. Colonel Shaw lifted one of them with a hand under his elbow and judged him to weigh less than an ounce. They were unclothed, but covered with a soft natural growth, neither hair nor feathers. Their skin was like velvet. They had bald heads, small ears and mouths, and large eyes. Each carried under his arm a bag from which from time to time he breathed. So if they can't handle our atmosphere, they got breathing devices.
What year was this?
1896.
Yeah, they weren't huffing gas back then.
No. In their hands, they held brilliantly luminous egg-like objects. After examining the horse and buggy, they attempted to lift Colonel Shaw, but could not move him. Their lights revealed near the bridge over the Woodbridge Canal a spindle-shaped aircraft 150 feet long and 20 feet thick in the center, hovering 20 feet over the canal. They walked with 15-foot steps toward their craft and sprang up to enter it through a door on the side. Colonel Shaw struck the vessel with a rock. It gave no sound. It moved off rapidly, expanding and contracting with a muscular motion. The colonel believed he had seen Martians. Huh. So far, that's the most valid sounding one. Not saying it is.
I'm just wondering if that comes with a little bias from you. Because he's a colonel.
No, because if it was a cop, I'd say the same thing. If it was a doctor, I'd say the same thing. I go by status. What's a colonel going to lose?
I wouldn't go with the doctor in the 1800s. Not a freaking chance.
Okay, fair enough. November 20th, 1896, in Watertown, California. Notice all these cases, with the exception of the one in France, are in California. So 5 Watertown men wrote to the SF Call to say that they had seen an enormous airship nearly collide with a cornice of the Watertown post office on the evening of November 20th. The craft had an intensely brilliant light, and the witnesses could see human forms aboard the ship. What the hell? December 1st, 1896, Sandy Beach, California. It's
in the water.
Huh?
It's in the water.
That's what, right?
Dawn's not on right now, so we can say that.
Okay. John A. Horan, an electrician of San Jose, said on this date that on Thursday he had gone to San Francisco to meet the airship's inventor. He boarded the airship at Sandy Beach on Thursday afternoon and rode it to Hawaii before dawn. Then back again by Saturday evening. The airship was driven by 2 propellers. He was sworn to divulge no more.
Yeah, that's not alien.
No, that part's not. I still say the other one with the levitating craft over the canal probably is. So December 2nd, 1896, off the California coast, 2 fishermen, Giuseppe Valenciano and Luigi Valdivia, observed an airship descend and alight on the ocean a few hundred yards away. The 3 occupants directed the ship to the beach, then dragged it into the woods. The fishermen landed and spoke to the captain, while the other 2 men worked on repairs. They were invited to have dinner with the crew and stayed with the aeronauts for some hours thereafter. So I think there's a lot of experimentation going on in California probably back then.
It sounds like it.
With airships. And here we go, December 7th, 1896. All these are in 1896. Camptonville, California. A giant airship descended on Rams Hill, 2 miles from town. 5 young men went out to investigate and found its occupants to be a bearded man who seemed to be a deaf mute. Questioned by writing, he said he had flown from the Montezuma Mountains where his wife and children lived. He stayed until 4 p.m. the next day and then sailed away. Huh. And so now, 1900s, May 22nd, 1909, in Wales. Lights were seen over Commercial Street. Maystag, one man with a telescope reported an aerial craft with occupants. How you doing tonight, Tim? August of 1909, we have Sounds, New Zealand. A sounds man out fishing observed an aerial object moving at low altitude. When it was over his launch, the occupants threw out debris, which fizzled as it hit the water.
Fizzled.
So what we're proving here is there were a lot of aerial phenomena in the 1900s and pre-1900s.
In California.
Well, all these ones in the 1900s. So here's South Dakota. And the one I think of the most happened in Texas. And that was the airship that crashed. And the alien body that they found is still supposed to be buried in a Texas cemetery with an unmarked grave. And I believe someone tried to dig it up, and, well, they couldn't find it. So in the 1300s, there were 12 different missing kids that were never found, never recovered, and all taken by flying craft. And like I said, if you dig deeper, there's actually cases that go before the 1300s. So, who abducts them? You got the Greys with the hybridization program. So in the 1990s is actually when you heard about that the most. And for those that are curious and want to dig more, look for Dr. David Jacobs' book, The Secret Life of Alien Abduction. That's the first book I picked up in 1994 when I first got thrown into the abduction arena. And, you know, and then I always get asked, oh, have you been abducted? No, I've not. I know that for a fact. I just happen to know somebody who was. And they fit all the signs. And we'll get into the signs later on, probably second hour. But, so the Greys have the hybridization program. And what's the purpose? With them, it's more about studying our DNA and looking for changes.
Discovery.
Yeah. But with that, they actually create hybrids. So, you know, you've got these different reasons for abducting. Some of them are medical scientists. Some of them are social scientists. Some of them were just dinner. And I can't remember which race is it that eats us for dinner. Teklex? That sounds right. Teklex. If you can only see Cole's face right now, I don't know. But there is a race that you know we're simply a snack, and that's the only reason they take people. And well, they don't come back, obviously. It reminds me of Bob Lazar's, descriptions of S4 at Area 51, where he actually saw vaults of liquid with human body parts, and some with humans floating in liquid and aliens floating in liquid. And, you know, they don't just eat humans; they eat other alien races as well, because everything tastes like chicken. But reptilians, you will find oftentimes work with the Greys. and they're very warrior. There's multiple different races of reptilian, so it depends on which ones you're talking about. But the more common one you will find with working with the Greys, some of them abduct on their own too, and they are more for science and snacks. The two S's. You got the Mater, which Mater's one you don't hear about a whole lot. I believe Keith actually knows about the Mater under a different name. If you look up Dante's Alien Races book, which you will find in the Forest Moon Paranormal's library under the file section, he talks about the Mater a lot. So the Mater is probably one of the more violent races against the human race. They are parasitic. They're the worst of the worst. They conduct more abductions than any other race. I would question that because I believe the Greys are the more common one. They have intentions to colonize the Earth, but due to the Council of Five, and this is going by one source, it's so you have different councils. You got the Consortium, you got the Council of Nine. Some have talked about the Council of 13. It depends on which side of the fence you want to fall on, and which person you want to listen to as far as the research goes. The Mater, if I remember, I'm trying to remember which movie, but there's a movie that came out that actually has a very good depiction of the Mater. Or Matri, I'm not sure how you pronounce the actual name. Then you've got the Aphim. So the Aphim come from the constellation of Lyra. They call themselves Aphim Spiansky because of a war they had fought against a race called the Splansky. The Splansky had 12 times more members and 35 times more ships and resources, and the Aphim still won. So they added the Splansky to the end of their race name as a warning to others. So fair enough. They have blue spotty skin, darker for males, lighter for females, and they are a very small species. The planet is called Crimea Alpetri, and they are highly technologically developed and can get here from their planet in 20 minutes. Don't eat oxygen, as a large percentage of their planet is hydrogen.
It's one heck of an interstate.
Right? They have colonized 10 planets non-violently. When close to humans, cannot be seen unless they want to, but humans will feel anxiety when they are near. Their ships are small spheres, and they come here to study human deviation. Oh, they have fun on this planet. Which is important to them determining the further development of the human race. So, at the beginning of the year, we were actually really intrigued by the number of UFO sightings that were developing. Probably the most in 1 year, as far as reports go. But most of them are just watching the human race, because we're quite a violent species. Naturally so. So if, and like Keith says, we're at a breaking point where either the human race is going to change and develop more sophisticatedly, or we're not, and, we're just going to go down a downward spiral, essentially. What's true and what's not, that's anyone's guess. Just flip a coin. And like I tell people on Facebook all the time, you know what? Pay attention to your own damn community. Don't watch the news. The news is so corrupt and crap anyway. Your community is the one that's going to take care of you, not the government. So next we have the Dries. We are used for reproduction, creating hybrids. The Lang, a very small race who confuses fairies. Reason they abduct is unknown. Now, who's to say the Lang aren't actually fairies?
Probably the Lang.
even fairies abduct. Or the Fae. I'll say the Fae because the fairies themselves, they don't really give a damn.
And I can't see Tinkerbell lifting me.
No, exactly. Other than with her wand. So we have the Dorsey. And these are actually the races that you can find in Dante's Alien Races book. The Dorsey eat humans and other aliens. The Alcobata, the reason they abduct is unknown. The Negumac, the reason they abduct is unknown. The X1Z, aka X, abduct for medical experiments. The Kili Tokert, reason unknown. They have Hanu Chondrus. They eat humans and drink their blood. Abductees not returned. Well, I wonder why. If they eat humans and drink their blood. And so if it makes you wonder if, if you look at the cultural side of many of these, if they have Hanu Chondrus, as they're known as, are the first vampires. It would take a lot more research and digging as to the description and what part of the globe they were abducted in.
But the thing is, they're not returning, right?
Nope.
So I would think of them more as just carnivorous. Like, we're just a slaughter yard for them. Earth is.
And, yeah, well, that's a given. But, so, depending on when they were coming down, maybe humans saw them drinking blood and thought, hey, that's a good idea. There's plenty of humans and plenty of blood. Let's try that. And, yeah, there you go. So the last one I have, no, never mind. It's not the last one I have. The movie anthem K-Fit is the ones who made contract with the president to abduct. Did they really? So, again, looking at research, so different sources will say it was the Nordics. The Nordics didn't agree with the terms of the contract, and this is with President Truman.
Yeah. It was the Truman administration.
The Truman administration made the... So, Shar wants to know, doesn't Chupacabra only drink blood? Well, so by definition, Chupacabra in Spanish actually means bloodsucker. I'm not going to jump on that exactly. There's not enough, to be honest with you, there's not enough documentation. So when you look at the news sources, you've got the skeptics that are saying, oh, no, it's just a coyote with mange. No, it doesn't really look like a coyote with mange to me. I believe the farthest migration pattern they've made it was to Texas. Other than that, there's cases in Puerto Rico and Mexico. But yeah, by definition, their name means bloodsucker. And so they've been known to kill dogs. They've been known to kill goats, obviously. And, other animals. I believe there's a couple cases where they've been known to kill humans. But there's, again, you look at the research, you'll find 11 billion sources, but they all source the same reference. So that points to me there's two people that talked about Chupacabra and everyone's citing that as a source. You don't find any new information. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Kayla's saying in the chat room too, and I agree. Our Keith has always said Chupacabra is... So you're driving to California, and you get out, and your dog jumps out and runs away. That's kind of what,
That's less dog food I have to buy.
Right? But, you have an alien craft that lands, and, well, my pet Chupacabra jumped out, and I can't find him, so, you have alien pets. And so, who's to say a lot of the more rare species that we have here aren't alien pets?
I feel with, though, how careful they are not to get caught, they wouldn't let that happen. Or another alien race wouldn't capture that and get rid of it immediately.
And, I always thought, so when I first started studying Chupacabra, to be honest, was probably back in the 1990s. I was doing a whole lot of research in the 1990s on different aspects. I always thought it was an escaped lab animal the government was working on. That was always my first thought. Not alien.
Char says the one in Puerto Rico looks like a demonic with horns. The thing is, half of the time when people start talking about these types of creatures, they often add elements used from biblical means in order to scare people more.
Yeah, it's all about power and control.
Yeah.
With most religions. Most religions use their biblical text for power and control. I hear dripping.
So do I.
It's raining, folks.
It's outside, okay.
And we're actually expecting snow probably supposed to be on Monday night.
No,
through
we're not. He's lying.
Thanksgiving. No, I'm not lying.
You're lying. I don't care.
As long, you know what? I don't care if it snows as long as we keep our power. Don't do a repeat of last year where we had 2 feet of snow and the power went out for 5 days. That wasn't a fun year.
If it snows,
it came
you're
back.
Lose power.
Huh?
If it snows, you're going to lose power, and you're going to regret everything you've been saying.
Oh my God, no. Okay, and Char says the one in Puerto Rico looks like a demonic with horns. My son-in-law saw one in Puerto Rico. If you have a picture, oh my God, I'd love to see it, Char. Okay. Oh, he didn't get a picture? So the X5 tie cut created by the race Mater to conduct abductions. Aliens race Indukuk, aka the Tall Whites, refer to ARB. They are also known to abduct, kill, and torture humans. Not only UFO witnesses, but also moonwatchers. They do not enjoy publicity. So, the Tall Whites have been known to be in Nevada. They have been known to be around Nellis Air Force Base in Vegas. Playing slot machines. No, I don't know. But I can't remember the author, but there's actually been a lot written on the Tall Whites that were at Nellis. The Talsetians. So the Talsetians are quite well known about, as are the Arcturians. But this race is here to assist abductees with issues with the Greys. They have been victimized by the Greys themselves as the race and are here to help. So our military has a captured Talsetian from a crash retrieval near Phoenix, Arizona in 1961. They named him Hank. Ain't that nice? The main reasons the Talsetians are here lie in raising awareness of how to deal with subversion of societies by ET races, identifying corrupt elites and institutions, uplifting human consciousness, and developing strategy for negating advanced mind control techniques. Well, they failed on that one, haven't they? The global solutions. What?
Aliens are just like a kid with a tiny pet in a church. Because they just watch.
Yeah.
They just sit there, they let it out, and they're like, let's see what the hell it does.
They're people watchers. That's literally what they are. Other than the abductors. And those are the ones we do. Yeah, you don't want to be abducted. The global solutions. Oh, who was it? No, Mike Morin. No. He wants to be abducted. No, you don't. And Jason. No, you don't want to be abducted, Jason. Jason's sitting there in the on my page going, I want to be. No, you don't want to be abducted. Oh my God! Be careful what you wish for, huh?
Mike Morin probably does.
He just wants to experience everything.
Yeah, like remember that video that he did in 108 Mile House? He called those two ghosts morons.
Yeah.
Not morons. I can't remember what he said.
So, no, Char. So, Char's asking, did you say they are working on mind control? No, they're supposed to be developing strategies for negating advanced mind control technique. So, basically, this is a race that's supposedly fighting against government mind control. The global solutions they offer are exposing government and financial corruption and elite manipulation, I can't talk to that. But I'm sorry, I see them as a failure. Monitoring ET infiltration, deprogramming mind control and implant removal, and promoting a multidimensional consciousness, diplomacy, and conflict resolution. That is a failure.
I would agree with that.
Look at our own nation today. I won't even talk about the rest of the globe. Our own nation is so divided. There's no conflict resolution there.
Or not.
Right? It's a failure. Shame on you, Talsetians. Yeah, it's a unique show tonight, folks. I'm just in one of them moods.
Well, but maybe they're looking at how we handle conflict resolution, but not using it, figuring it out for us. Maybe they're figuring it out for their own race, and so they don't interfere with ours.
Well, that could be. So I'm going to ask the audience here tonight, and you as well, Cole. What is your favorite? It can be either abduction related or alien related. What's your favorite movie? I've got several. I'm going to talk about each one.
You're not going to like mine.
Huh? You don't like yours?
You're not going to like mine.
I like Battleship. I like Battleship for the reason that they actually show their aliens on that, with beards for one. And yes, I don't have a beard anymore. I've gone back to the military look, and I'm going to stay that way. It'll, piss some people off, but you know what? I got to do what I got to do sometimes. But they portray the aliens that invade in Battleship more as having purpose. They show each one like a soldier because it's a kind of a military takeover of the alien style. But they each have their own job, just like the U.S. military. Some of them have beards. And it's very unique. It's a very unique perspective they showed. And it's got Rihanna in it. That was cool. What's your favorite movie?
Marvin the Martian.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because aliens are honestly a truly scary thing.
Okay.
To them, we aren't equals. We never will be.
No, because you look at some of the theories where we were created by them as a slave race, so they're not supposed to be nice, period.
But Hanna-Barbera took that, and when I was a child, they made that okay.
Okay.
By showing that even the most innocent creature we have on this earth, a bunny, can absolutely destroy all that alien's hopes and dreams.
You talking Bugs Bunny against Marvin the Martian?
Yeah. Oh, quit it with that Mary Poppins crap, Kayla.
Oh, so Kayla says Mary Poppins, that lady had to be some kind of alien. No, she was just a witch.
Actually, she says some Linda alien.
Oh.
Go to bed, Kayla.
What do you guys think about Fire in the
and
Sky?
And Starflower says sometime I wonder.
Dawn's back.
What?
Dawn's back.
Okay. Outstanding. How you doing tonight,
What do you
Dawn?
think about I'm doing really good. I
Okay,
got
barely
home,
hear.
been kind of listening in for a couple minutes, got my coffee, ready to go.
Okay. So, what do you know about alien abduction?
Very little, actually. What I do know comes from like shows like Unsolved Mysteries and Sightings, but I have a theory on why they're doing it, and it's kind of, I don't know, it might be completely off the wall, but it's mainly that we're a big giant zoo.
And that's a popular theory, actually. When it comes down to it, yes, we're kind of like a petri dish, and the tweezers come down and they push the microbes around and whatnot, and or yes, we are a zoo, and like we were talking earlier, the chupacabra and whatnot is an alien pet planted here to see how the human zoo would react with chupacabras.
Starflower, I still have to see that one.
That's actually a really good movie.
Is that an actual movie?
Yeah, Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Is it on Netflix? I'll have to look. Because I'm curious. And we've talked about this one as for too, is the fact that a lot of movies and even TV shows, you look at X-Files, you look at a lot of different movies, even the movie Predator, the Predator himself is an actual alien race.
Okay, at the moment, it's only available on Amazon, YouTube, Google Play, Vudu.
It's available on YouTube?
Hey, what about...
Go ahead.
Probably for pay. You have to pay to rent it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
What do you guys think about Jupiter Ascending?
I have to watch that one again, because I think I've seen it, but I can't remember it.
Well, what happens is that the human race is actually a spacefaring race, that we are a planet that the elite use to keep themselves young. They have the lizard people, they have a lot of different races involved, but the hierarchy is that the human race is in charge, but they come down and they harvest planets of the human race.
And that's actually another, there's a whole lot of different theories. I've been studying this since '94. There's a whole lot of theories out there, and that is one of them, that we are just, one theory is that we were created as a slave race. I like Keith's theory that we weren't created as a slave race, but as soldiers. We were created as a fighting force for some of the races. And that, to me, actually seems more valid based on the fact that humans are designed to be violent. Humans are designed, and they wonder why there's so many shootings and things like that, because it's inherent in us. But the human mind is the weak point, because the human mind isn't designed to, for a majority of humans, can't handle taking another life, or they can't handle the aftermath of taking that other life. So that's the weak point.
Well, I remember that one now, that Jupiter Ascending, and I couldn't watch the whole thing. Channing Tatum wore way too much makeup.
The lead actor.
Yeah, but it is available on Netflix.
Okay. I'll have to go check it out. Now, I think my favorite race to talk about, which is one that you don't hear about anywhere, and that's the Rogues. And again, this is another Dante. If you look for Dante Centauri on YouTube, you'll find his channel. He's actually been doing... So he disappeared for a while. Said he wasn't coming back. His mission had been fulfilled. And then last year, or it might have been even the beginning of this year, all of a sudden he just starts popping up with new videos. And he comes up with new videos every day now. Some of them can't be seen because they're foreign. So YouTube blocks them. But one thing that struck my mind, two things. One was the Mater. The Mater have a very interesting story behind them. But the Rogue have been pinned as Jack the Ripper. They have been pinned as... They killed the Black Rose in California. Or the Black Dahlia, rather. Not the Black Rose. They were the reason for the death of the Black Dahlia, and what the LAPD calls the Reaping. They're responsible for the Battle of LA in 1942. And if you look at the death of Elisa in 2013. Now, for anyone that's listening, if you look up the death of Elisa, that's it was actually caught on the elevator camera. It was a foreign girl that disappeared. And you see the elevator doors open, and you see this look of terror, but there's nothing there. And she disappeared. So I've also been looking at a lot more of Paulides' work, because I always go through these phases of cleaning up my files and whatnot on the computer, and I'm leaning more towards portals, and I think he is too, but he'll never say it because he keeps his own opinions to himself. Because you got some people that say, "Oh, it's Bigfoot." No, Bigfoot don't take people. Bigfoot returns people. You look at the case of the 3-year-old in, I believe it was North Carolina, at the beginning of this year, where the little boy said it was a bear that he stayed with. He was missing for 3 days. A bear's not going to take care of a little 3-year-old. The bear's going to eat him, especially in February, March. You got the other ones. I do think some of them are abduction, but not all. If you look at the portal theory, if someone walks through a portal, they might wind up, you got too many kids that are too young to be able to walk very far. And in some cases, pop up, 12, 13 miles away on top of a mountain ridge? Yeah. How else are they going to get up there? There's no way. They didn't walk up there. What, a 3-year-old with technical rope rescue skills? I don't think so. So, you got something going on there. So, Orson Welles was the first one chosen to start the country towards disclosure. Not to be serious, but to discredit future UFO sightings and activity. Look at the War of the Worlds. In 1940s, started the murders suddenly in Los Angeles. Elizabeth Short, otherwise known as the Black Dahlia, was the most infamous one. This time period was known by the LAPD as the Reaping, and they still do, as the killings have never stopped. So if you look at the timeline of events, like I said a minute ago, yeah, Tim. So Tim's in the chat room. He said the Elisa Lam case is disturbing. Look it up on YouTube. You'll actually see the video footage where she comes out of the elevator.
Actually, if you just type her name, the first thing that comes up is a Reddit.
Is what?
A Reddit article.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. It's not just her, too, because she was found by the Cecil Hotel. And that hotel's pretty messed up.
Mm-hmm. It's a creepy story. And I chalk that up as probably Eric's creepiest stories. That would be one. The diatribe... oh, God, what's the name? Not diatribe. The case in Russia with the missing college kids.
Oh, is that the one where they went into the past?
Yeah. And it's not coming. No, it should. It's been a busy week. But the first sighting of the Rogues was in the 1700s. And I'm sorry, folks, it's time for break. So we are going to go to break, our first break of the night, and we'll come back and we'll go into the Rogues. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hey S4ians, please check out one of our newest sponsors, Wiser Books. They're an imprint of Red Wheel Wiser. They publish books across the entire spectrum of occult and esoteric subjects. Their mission is to publish quality books that will make a difference in people's lives without advocating any one particular path or field of study. They value the integrity, originality, and depth of knowledge of their authors. Please check them out at redwheelwiser.com.
We've had several days of 80-degree plus weather here in Concrete, Washington. My family's favorite way to keep cool in this heat is to stop by Java Zone 2 and grab a delicious iced latte for me and a blended mocha for my husband. Our son just loves their creamy milkshakes, and our daughter can't get enough of their ice cream. The best part is, Java Zone 2 is conveniently located just off Highway 20 beside Loggers Landing. And I'm proud to shop local for a business that has been a staple of the Concrete and Upriver community since it opened its doors in 2010. So if you're looking for a way to keep cool in this summer heat, come check out Java Zone 2. They're fast, friendly, and local.
All of us here at S4 and Forest Moon Paranormal would like to thank everyone who attended and supported our 2019 Paracon. It was an amazing event that we couldn't put on without our sponsors, our speakers, and our volunteers. Be sure to keep an eye on our Facebook group, Forest Moon Paranormal, for all your updates on Paracon 2020, September 26th, 2020. Thank you again to everyone. Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Hey everyone, Cole here with S4 Paranormal Radio, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. Looking for a way to get the word out there about your business, group, team, or product? Let us help you. A few clicks is all it takes to get started at s-4radio.com, or you can contact me at 360-999-2830. Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
Welcome back to S4, the voice of the dark side of the paranormal and conspiratorial. Make sure you check our website at s-4radio.com, our Spreaker site, and on the S4 YouTube channel for all the shows you've been missing. Anyway, back to the show. So anyway, back to the rogues, because these guys fascinate me. So they've been, the first sighting of the rogues was in the 1700s. Then you've got Jack the Ripper in 1888. So Jack the Ripper, people describe seeing a shadow. They don't see an actual human killing these women. I don't think there's ever been a witness that's lived to tell about it. You got subliminal messages on radio and the movies pre-1938. You got the Orson Welles alien invasion, 1938. You got the death of the Black Dahlia and what the LAPD called the reaping. You got the Battle of LA in 1942, and the death of Elisa in 2013. So in 1933, a very strange and dangerous race arrived on Earth and permanently installed themselves off the coast of California and Italy, near Venice. Less than 2 years later, in Italy, the RS-33 cabinet. So look up the RS-33 cabinet in Italy. You may or may not find anything about it. The agency in charge of all alien investigations, contacts, and relations immediately reported this to Mussolini. Mussolini then called his son-in-law, Galeazzo Ciano, the Italian consul in Shanghai. In 1936, Ciano became Italy's foreign minister and head of the RS-33 cabinet. He traveled to the USA and secretly met with John Nance Gardner, the Vice President Roosevelt, to discuss the alien race off the coast of California and Italy. So they had already attempted to contact with this race and knew there was no reasoning with these, so they started creating stories about them to discredit future sightings. One rare photo was captured of this race in Alaska in the 1930s. In 1937, the race increased its presence by starting 2 new bases off the coast of France and Germany. This was discussed between Ciano, Hitler, and Daladier during the Munich Agreement meeting in September of 1938. Ciano coined the term of this race, the Rogue. Eventually, it was found that this race had been on Earth a long time, and people had reported them as far back as the 1700s. Australia, 1793. Australia, 1861. Australia, 1940s. Oregon, USA, looked like a disc with an antenna on top of it. March of 1954, in Rouen, France. New Zealand, and finally, LA, 1942. Their bases are all underwater. They don't interact with other races. Little is known about them, but they choose and kill people randomly, and they are extremely violent. We do not know their purpose. When they kill, authorities are told to leave the case alone, and those cases are closed as suicides, accidental death, or simply unsolved. They are most active January to March of each year. People in the know call them the Rogue. Others call them the Shadow People. So, we've been in the paranormal for 15 years, 30 years. We've heard people talk about the Shadow People. Not all the Shadow People are rogues.
If you include Marvin the Martian, I've been in the paranormal field for 30 years.
Exactly. See, there you go. So, yes, these guys have the disc with the antenna on them. That's the rogue. So, July of 27th of 1888, a round object described as a pot lid was spotted over Reading, England. Same November 3rd of 1888 was Jack the Ripper. Part of this alien race, a shadow is described by Frederick Aberline of Scotland Yard's inspector in charge. So there's kind of your pieces of that puzzle going together with the rogue, whether they're Jack the Ripper or not. So there's 3 types of rogues: the shadow person, the shadow people, and the shadow animal. So the shadow person is the leader of a team of shadows. Height is about 5.5 and 8 foot. Sometimes wears a device on his head mistaken for a hat. So these are the shadow people that you see with a cloak or a hat. And the cloak or the hat, sometimes both, is actually a device that makes them a shadow. It's electronic. The shadow people are much shorter, 3 to 5 foot. And where there's one, you can expect more. They travel in groups of 10. These are the ones that appear to wear a hood and robe, which again is a form of device. Their vision is like that for the movie Predator. Their technology to become invisible. And the shadow animals only come out at night and are physical in appearance, but because it is night, they seem like shadows. They're not normal animals. The Shadow, from 1930 to 1954, was a rogue reference.
You know, I find something funny. The two most popular crafts that we've encountered before the 1980s
Okay.
were cigar shaped
Right.
and flat disc.
And you still see both of them today.
But our space program, when we leave the Earth, it's a cigar shape.
Yeah.
When we come back, it's a flat disc. You notice that?
No. I don't pay attention.
When we leave, it's a rocket.
Huh?
When we leave, it's a rocket.
Right.
When we
It's
come
cigar
back,
shape. Okay, I got you.
it's a
I got
flat disc
you. Yeah.
made to...
Because it flies
impede-
back like an airplane.
No. Like, think the Apollo program.
Okay. Okay.
You got to think the capsules.
The capsule.
They're flat on the bottom to slow them down.
I'm tracking down. Yeah.
It's just weird.
So what do you think, Don? Do you see anything flying in the sky in California?
Man, I wish I would, because that would be amazing, to be fair. I live in the middle of a suburban area, so I got a lot of light pollution.
Right.
And I live next to an Air Force base, and it's got a lot of planes coming in and out of there a lot. So it's hard for me to say it without any real skepticism that if I'm seeing something that's an alien or a UFO, because to me, it could be just another aircraft coming out of the Air Force base.
Well, plus, the aliens were there before he was.
Yeah.
They were all there in the early 1800s. Before you came back, Don, all of the ones that Eric was talking about were from the early 1800s. They were all from California.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess this is the place to be.
Right. Well, yeah, I think in the 1800s you had a lot of people that were experimenting with flying craft and competing with the Wright brothers.
Yeah.
So Shar keeps losing sound.
That's got to be on your end.
Yeah, we're solid on this end. Try refreshing. So this is an interesting case because October 16th, 17th of 1957 is the Antonio Villas-Boas abduction in Brazil. One of the more famous cases. A lot of people like to say the Betty and Barney Hill case was the most famous. And you know, the skeptics blame it on lack of sleep. I disagree. I disagree because of the fact that she's probably the first documented one to go to a psychotherapist and actually under hypnosis be able to draw Zeta Reticuli, the star map, before, 20 to 30 years before Zeta Reticuli was even discovered. So, tired when they saw it or not, that's the first case where hypnotherapy was actually used. I don't agree with hypnotherapy, but it's fascinating what pulled out of it. Because even if she made stuff up, she drew a star map of a constellation that's not even known about back then. Not something you'd read out of a book, not something you'd see out of a movie.
Well, I'm thinking as a true skeptic of not believing anything anyone says.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 1960s.
Right.
Wasn't it? Or 50s?
1957.
50s. So, back then, a biracial couple
Yep.
wouldn't have validity in any situation.
No. And they were old. They were extremely religious, too.
Yeah.
They didn't jump up and say, "Oh my God, demons took us." No. Not like today.
Probably would have had better luck.
So anyway, October 16th, 17th, 1957, Antonio Villas-Boas in Brazil. One of the very first abduction claims. that hit news. Again, it's in Brazil. Whereas the Betty and Barney Hill case was in New Hampshire, USA. So, Villas-Boas claims to have been abducted and examined by humanoid aliens while working in the fields at night. He also claimed to have had sex with an alien woman aboard an egg-shaped craft. Now, it's interesting, you know, he had been found to be suffering from radiation poisoning. Where's a farmer going to encounter radiation poisoning? Unless something happened. Did he have sex with an alien? I don't know.
Well, but that's like when you're at the bar with your buddies and you start telling a story, they tell a better one. Yeah, well, I had sex with an alien.
Yeah, but where's he going to pick up radiation poisoning? Something happened.
Where's that located?
Brazil. In the 1950s.
There's uranium fields in Brazil.
So, his symptoms were pains throughout the body, nausea, headaches, loss of appetite, ceaselessly burning sensations in the eyes, cutaneous lesions at the slightest of light bruising, which went on for months. Looked like small reddish nodules. So I've seen a picture of this, and it looks like, and you know, it matches his description where he actually touched the craft, and you can see burn marks of circular patterns on his torso. It matches his what he says happened. The military intelligence man interrogated Boas, and he was subjected to a battery of physical and psychological tests. The most conservative of ufologists accepted his abduction as a natural occurrence. That alone, to me, speaks volumes. So then you start coming down to, so let's talk about statistics. That's what I wanted to do. I have too many notes, folks. When we do research for this show, we do research for this show. When I have time, and yeah. So I pulled up a lot of notes, didn't I?
Thank you.
So, like I tell folks, you know, when you do research on a topic, you don't just grab the first topic, or you know, the first site or the first reference. I like to choose 5 different sources. I like to do that because you get sometimes a different perspective from one source versus another. If they all match and they all reference different sources, then you know that it's probably pretty valid. And I say it that way because if they all match and they all reference the same source, then they're just copying one source. So yeah. Let's see. So the history of abduction: Torino, Italy, is an alien hotspot, and you know, Italy's always been an alien hotspot actually. So 100 BC, Julius Obisquens reported a round object like a globe that flew from east to west. 100 BC.
On papyrus?
Right. But 100 BC, a meteor is not going to go from east to west.
Why?
It's going to come down. I would think.
It depends on where he was located.
Italy.
If he's in a valley.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. In 91 BC, a similar report. 42 BC, he reports a sound like a missile rose from with a great noise from the earth and soared into the sky. I think a Fifth Element. Awesome movie. Bada boom. Big bada boom. Yeah.
Multipass.
Multipass, yeah. Are you still with us, Don? Or are you muted?
Yep, still with you.
Okay. Bada boom. Anyway, Torino was Italy's first capital city in 1861 and home to the House of Savoy, Italy's royal family. So the Torini were an ancient Celtic Celto-Ligurian Alpine people. They are rarely mentioned in history. 1030 AC, Torino. 12 girls were abducted by aliens. They belonged to 3 different families. As time went by, the families gave up hope, with the exception of Felicia Selvo. So, I've talked about this before on the show. It's been a long time. It's been a couple of years. The Order of the Black Swan.
Yep.
This is actually where the Order of the Black Swan started. Was in Torino. So there were 12 girls that were abducted by aliens. They belonged to 3 different families. As time went by, like you see today, families gave up hope. Not all families give up hope. Some of them continue looking today. But back then they gave up hope, with the exception of Felicia Selvo, the mother of Monica, a 12-year-old missing girl. Now, her and her 2 sons traveled everywhere, looking for answers. 11th century was the darkest period of the Middle Ages, but trade slowly picked up, and Felicia met with traders from the eastern lands when they were in Genova, who described the quote-unquote, heavenly creatures who came down to get the daughters of men. They also told her about the mater, who returned to Torino, and in 1034 AD, the 3 families created the Ordine del Signo Nero, or the Order of the Black Swan. The families made a pact of revenge. They would fight the abductors 1,000 generations per each of the missing girls. So yes, they are still around today, but you won't find them in any public circles. They don't. You won't find them. Believe me, I've searched. They have just started. Why Black Swan? Because in Torino, the Black Swan is used as guard dogs. Just over 500 years later, in 1550 AD, the 2 families moved from Sicily to Torino, having had the same experience, and joined the order. Those 5 families still run the order today. Some rich, some not, but the mission goes on. So Torino is where their headquarters is, and they've added people from other families. And if you know or have ever heard of the Order of the Black Swan and you have information, please get a hold of me. I'd love to find out more about this. I've been looking for information on them for at least the last 3 years. So, how do you know if you've been abducted or not?
They accidentally left the probe in. That's a sure sign.
It is. And so where did that come from? The only movie reference I can think of where he talks about probing is Independence Day, and that's where I can't remember his name, but the fighter pilot that went to the restaurant and was talking about it. They probed me, and I'm gonna get my revenge. And
Randy Quaid.
Huh?
Randy Quaid.
There you go. So other than that, where did the joke of being probed come from? Because you really don't hear that in actual research. You don't hear about that from a whole lot of abductees talking about being probed.
Okay, but doesn't that bother you?
Hmm?
Okay, so it's not a pop culture reference from before the 70s.
No.
So back when they were making monster movies in the 50s, that wasn't something that happened.
Well, it doesn't get reported by a lot of abductees today. So we do know they take sperm from men.
That's not true. It does, but no one believes them. Those are the ones that everyone, even ufologists, believe are crazy.
No, I've talked to hundreds of abductees, and probing is not something they talk about, or not one of the signs that they describe.
Would you?
Yeah. if I know I'm getting help from a team that's going to help me, yeah.
See, and in my mind, there's no coming back from that. That's one thing you can never get help with.
Well, that's true. That's true. So with all the signs that we talk about tonight, the first thing I'd tell you if you've exhibited any of these signs that we are going to describe is to be checked out by a medical doctor, because some of these signs could be medical signs of illness or disease. And, you know, over the years, these same symptoms don't change, they don't go away. A typical abduction you will find is somebody who describes seeing a UFO, and they're watching this craft, and it's 9 o'clock at night, they see this craft, and all of a sudden they see this craft moving away, and it's like 11 o'clock, midnight. And they've been missing. They've been physically missing. People have been looking for them. In one case I recall, when she went in the house, her boyfriend was like, "Where you been?" "I stayed here, I made tea for you and everything, and you never came back inside." And she doesn't know where that 3 hours went, because it was 9 p.m. when she saw the craft, midnight when she went in the house. You know, and I think of X-Files when, I think it was the first episode actually, where Mulder and Scully are driving through the woods, and all of a sudden the power goes away, and he's excited because he's missing 30 seconds on his clock.
I think that's 2.
Is it 2?
I think so.
And, you know, so yes, it's like an EMP. It's like an EMP burst, because, you know, it'll kill your battery, it'll kill all power, and then all of a sudden the car will start right up on its own, just like it did in the TV show. So that's, you know, when you look at patterns, that's usually the first thing they'll describe, is they saw a craft, and, you know, they can switch you off, they can switch other people off. There's been cases where there's a crowd of 100 people, and there's a blatant UFO in the sky, and only 3 people might see it. Nobody else saw it. Nobody else knows what you're talking about. So, you know, they do have the technology. They can turn other people off to where they can mask themselves, but only their selected victims can actually see their craft. So, the first sign we'll talk about is nosebleeds at night. So, they'll wake up and there's blood on the pillow. It's not like they're laying in bed and all of a sudden their nose starts gushing blood. They only know because there's blood stains on the pillow. And so when you look at the medical side of it, they could be sleeping in dry air. So you can test that by putting a humidifier in your room while you're sleeping. Other things, they have anemia, which is a thinning of the blood. Get checked out. Get some blood work done, see if there's something else going on. Because just having 1 or 2 of these signs doesn't mean you're being abducted. The UFO sighting, the missing time. Missing time is really common, because time up there, it can seem like hours. It's only 5 minutes down here. Or vice versa. Some people describe seeing aliens floating through the walls. There's always a sign of an entity or a being walking through the walls, walking through the windows. And I think of the Brooklyn Bridge case. That one's fascinating too, because of the witnesses. So there was a UN ambassador that was actually crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. It was like midnight, 3 in the morning, and he actually saw a UFO. And he saw this woman levitating out the window on a tractor beam from the craft. And she was like, what, the 23rd, 24th floor? the way up in the air. And they actually saw the craft, they saw the woman, and, you know, are you an ambassador witnessing this and coming out talking about it? That's someone that can lose her job.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talked about me talking about the colonel and being biased. No, it wasn't that. That wasn't the fact. When you have high-level people that are coming out talking about it, they have more to lose than just Joe Schmo that works at Hot Topic in the mall, for example. So, aliens floating through the walls. You know, another thing I've actually witnessed was laying in bed and looking at the ceiling and seeing little tiny pinpoints of light moving around. It wasn't reflection. They were self-created, self-absorbed, essentially. So it wasn't like it was a reflection coming from the floor. That's also a sign of aliens. Dreams of being on a spaceship and or flying. So that's a common one, especially back in the 90s, because back in the 90s, so with the gray hybrid program, it was really common. So the first sign would be a woman dreaming about being on a craft, going through all these tests and experiments. She would be pregnant, physically pregnant, for roughly 3 months. And then something would happen. She would go see a doctor. Fetus is missing. So it's not like it was an internal abortion. It wasn't a miscarriage. It was just a missing fetus. And it's been documented medically a few times where the doctors are baffled because there is no baby. There's no fetus. It's just gone. You know, the hormones are there, but there's no tissue. Nothing passed through, nothing. Just no fetus. And then she'll have a dream where she's back on the craft. She'll be shown a room with what appears to be a lot of jars. And there's actually fetuses in these jars. That is what they call the alien nursery. So that's a typical gray hybrid. So what they've done today, as of a year or two ago that I'm aware of, and I believe it's older than that, instead of implanting a woman and taking her back on the craft to extract the fetus, they actually have a natural birth here, and they're giving birth to an alien hybrid, but with totally human features. And oftentimes the hybrid won't know that they're a hybrid, other than they have a higher than level IQ. They have some telekinetic, they have some psychic features to them. The eyes are a little bit different, and the facial structure might be a little bit different, but not enough to really, oh, you're an alien, you know, kind of thing. They'll have bigger eyes than normal. The eyes are a little more bright. I'm trying to think how to even describe it, but the eyes are brighter. Other than that, they look like a human.
Incandescent.
There you go.
That would cover it more.
Yeah, but not inhuman.
Okay.
They look at the, you know, and that's where the implants come in, because honestly, I believe one of the implants that isn't really known about is the masking implant. Because, you know, think about it, if you're a hybrid, your DNA is not going to be purely human. So if you go to the doctor for a blood panel, if you don't have this implant, I think they have an implant that they put in the hybrids that masks their alien DNA side, so that blood tests will come back human. So I've got a question here, because I don't know if my chat room is frozen or just no one's talking. There's listening.
So quiet.
Huh?
So quiet.
It is. It's a quiet night, but that's okay. It's late, and I know most of it. There's Don. So, yeah, most of our listeners I know usually listen to the archive. So, electrical anomalies. That's another one. So, with electrical anomalies, your TV acts up. It comes on by itself. The more common one is actually your walk at night, and you walk every time you walk past a street light, it goes off. Now, it could be just, a malfunctioning street light, but if you notice this as you're walking by each and every street light, then that's a sign. And I believe that's caused by the implant. It's the implant that's affecting the electrical circuitry of the streetlights. So what are you thinking? Yeah, I know you have a comment.
Well, it's just a lot of the symptoms are very similar to an attachment.
To what?
An attachment.
Attachments won't cause streetlights to go out. Attachments won't cause the electrical anomaly side of it. Attachments. So talking about attachments.
Well, but won't they if they're giving off an extra burst of energy around you?
Not that I'm aware of. So attachments, and that's a good point. Attachments will actually cause pain in the lower back, wherever they're attached. So for our listeners that aren't familiar with attachments, they are usually indicators. So if you go into a haunted location, you know it's haunted. You don't use protection. You aren't grounded, shielded. Oftentimes spirits can attach themselves to you, or entities can attach themselves to you. And usually the signs of that are confusion. They can cause disorientation, personality change. So a lot of times demonic, what people call demonic possession, isn't really demonic possession, because demonic possession is rare. Extremely rare. So the first thing you'll look at with demonic possession is it really just an attachment, because they can cause personality disorders or a personality change. Someone that is normally calm will be kind of aggressive and a little more agitated and violent, whereas somebody that's usually, the more aggressive one is all of a sudden passive. It can also it'll oftentimes cause pain in the lower back because that's where it's attached. So wherever it's attached to you is where you'll feel the pain, the physical pain, which a common place is the back of the neck and the lower back. It causes confusion, headaches, dizziness. That's an attachment. Not really familiar with whether attachments cause electrical anomalies or not. The energy burst does make sense, though. So they'll also hear a humming or vibration noise at night. And this is back to the abductees. Humming and vibration sounds is common with abduction. And I know someone's going to bring it up later on, but people up here, the folks upriver, I know, talk a lot about these mysterious explosions. I don't have an answer for that. I don't think, when you look at the upriver group, people say the rock quarry. The rock quarry is going to be more locally isolated. The explosions these folks are talking about are heard from Burnsview all the way to New Haven and Darrington. That's a 50-mile radius. That's a pretty loud burst. So is it abduction? No, I don't think it's abduction. Before anyone jumps on that bandwagon, Eric's sitting there talking about... No, I'm not saying the explosion is related to aliens. I have no idea what it is. So, the feeling of being watched, mostly at night. So, if you feel watched, I feel watched a lot. but I've got PTSD, so I'm always on edge anyway. So, again, the feeling of being watched can be a sign of paranoia. I would get checked out. See if you've got some other kind of psychiatric disorder, maybe. Not saying you're crazy, but it's also a sign of abduction. Because, you've been through a traumatic event. A lot of abductees also have PTSD. And we'll get to that because it's coming up next too. So with the hybrid program started with women waking up to a triangular puncture marks on the lower abdomen. It's in the form of a triangle. And it looks like someone took a needle and actually made 3 needle marks in a triangle on your lower abdomen. That's the first sign. Followed by the pregnancy. So again, the gestation is 4 to 6 weeks, followed by missing fetus, then dreams of being in the alien nursery. And you'll be taken again in about 2-3 months, and at that point in time, they're encouraged to handle or play with the babies because they want the human interaction with the hybrids. Men, yeah, you're not exempt. Men have semen samples taken, and in some cases, men and women are both forced to have sex while the aliens watch. Sometimes sex with aliens. So you talk PTSD, yeah, this is rape. It's a crime. But how are you going to prosecute an alien?
That's not a science thing. Dirty little aliens.
You what?
That's not a science thing. Those are just dirty little aliens.
So that's where some of the PTSD comes from, because, there's been a lot of remorse with some abductees that they know they've had sex, they know they've had, relations with a stranger on a craft. They have no idea who this person is. They feel guilt. It comes up in some of the groups, because, there's, we'll get to that probably in the third hour when we start talking about how do you help abductees?
Why would you feel guilt?
Well, because, you've had relations with an individual that they were uncomfortable, they didn't want it.
Yeah, but neither did you.
Well, absolutely. But they don't know where this person is.
Well, would that even be more uncomfortable if you did?
Well, can you imagine finding them in the mall?
Right?
And you don't want to bring it up because you don't know if they remember, even though you do.
Yeah.
So PTSD with abductees in many cases over their experiences. It's common. Signs of an implant, commonly in the nasal passage. Teeth, arms, legs, wrist. And, just because you have an implant in somewhere that I haven't mentioned doesn't mean it's not an implant. Unknown bruises, scratches, scoop marks. So what's a scoop mark? A scoop mark looks like someone took a little tiny spoon and scooped skin out and made kind of like a divot in your legs. Huh?
But it's healed over.
So, talking to Keith again, oftentimes those scoop marks, they do fill in, but it takes a long time. So you might have, take pictures.
No, but the skin looks healed. Like, it's... There's a noticeable divot.
But there's no bleeding. There's no
bleeding.
Yeah, there's no bleeding. There's no actual injury-looking mark. So, fear of big eyes. So if you find yourself and you're scared, the sight of deer, owls, things of that nature, they have big eyes. So the aliens can mask themselves. And oftentimes, especially with the children, they would mask themselves as deer, owls, rabbits, animals that have big eyes, because they might be able to mask themselves as the appearance of a deer or an owl or a rabbit, but they can't hide the eyes. That's why they have to use something with big eyes. That's why the kids, now you're an adult and you've been abducted since childhood, that's all you remember is the eyes. The eyes can't be masked. Same thing with doctor lights, because the lights are bright in the craft. So when they go to the doctor and they see that really bright light, it'll trigger memories.
Well, it probably feels very medical.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we're already actually coming close to the top of the second hour. So I'll slowly start wrapping up here. Another one, you'll have dreams of being in the woods. And this is actually documented. These are documented cases where somebody will have dreams they walked in the woods, it was raining. And they'll wake up, they'll pull back the blankets, and oh my God, their feet are muddy. And there's leaves, branches, mud, at the bottom of the bed. Were they sleepwalking? That's possible. But the factor of the dream, or, the quote-unquote dream, they actually saw alien beings in the woods. And they were taken. And that's when you start looking at your body and seeing if there's any scoop marks or things of that nature. So another common thing is, some abductees, they'll go out and they'll get artwork, they'll get tattoos, they'll get an earring, a new nose ring, a new tongue ring, and sure enough, they'll be taken that night because it's something new. You've got color on your body, or you've got something shiny in your ear. What is this, and why are they doing this? So aliens will come down and abduct you just to look at what's new in your body and why did you do it.
It's a very good question.
And some abductees actually remember being asked, "What is this? Why do you do this?" Can you imagine getting a tattoo of an alien and insulting them? Like, hey, I don't look like that. Yeah, you do. You're ugly. But anyway, especially if it's a praying mantis or a mantid. So what's common, like I said earlier in the show, the reptilians are known to work with the greys. So are the mantids. And the mantids are ugly. The mantids look like a giant praying mantis.
And they're jerks.
Huh?
They're jerks, too.
They are, but they die easily. Don't ask me how we know that.
Redacted.
Redacted, yeah. The reptilians, however, are very warrior-like, and they're harder to kill. Mantids are weak.
I wonder if they lick their own eyeball.
I doubt it.
Like a gecko.
I doubt it. Oh, yeah, okay. I wonder if it's a gecko species. So what's interesting, too, is, there have been some abduction cases where the people were taken, and they came back with somebody else's underwear on.
Well, that's just bad planning.
That would be awkward. And in some cases, I remember about the university student. There's a university student that was taken, and somehow he had the ability to gain his control back, and he was able to punch an alien. Usually you don't. Usually you don't have control. But he was able to fight, and rather than deal with him, they returned him. But they returned him with no clothes on, so he was butt-ass naked in the university courtyard. Because they didn't return him to his room, they returned him to the courtyard. So you could chalk that up as just a drunken university student who found himself outside naked, but he was abducted. There was one case I remember in Dr. Jacobs' book, actually, I think it was, where the entire car of people was taken. And when they were returned, the aliens returned the car on the wrong side of the freeway. So, it's midnight, and these people all of a sudden, they don't remember being taken, but all of a sudden, for no reason, they're driving on the wrong side of the freeway. So the aliens very quickly realized their mistake, re-abducted them, and put them on the right side of the freeway. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Especially when it's documented. So
Could you imagine having to go to your alien overlord and be like, okay, I know I screwed up.
You're fired. You are fired. So reptilians. There's one race that's supposed to be inside Mount Rainier. They're called the Dracos. They are an earthbound species, meaning they are from here. And there is a group called the Romptons. They are in Yelm, Washington. They have a very large compound, and these people worship the Romptons. And I can't remember her name, but there was a woman in the 40s that lived in Roswell, New Mexico. She claims to have been channeled by an ancient race being. His name was Ramtha. And he gave her all these messages, and she moved to Washington State to Yelm, and she bought this compound from Shirley MacLaine. And, well, they're still around today. They have this big compound in Yelm, Washington, called the Rompton Compound. And so I had a boss, an E6, when I was at Fort Lewis, and he actually lived in Yelm, and he didn't live too far from this Rompton Compound, and he said every summer you'd see this whole line of RVs go driving down and turn into this compound. They'd have big drum chanting nights and whatnot and keep them all awake. But anymore they do these big healing seminars. And you can actually probably Google the Rompton Compound and actually find the website. But let's see. Abduction. I think we covered most. So the implants. We'll cover more of the. I don't think we're gonna have enough time at finishing up this hour to cover all the implants. So the implant that's in the nasal cavity and behind the ear back in the 90s was the more common one for tracking. So with that implant, they could. You could get scared, pack up all your stuff, and move across the planet. You live here in Washington State, you move to Australia, they can still find you. It's much like humans do with the elk. So we subdued the elk, we put a game tracker on them, we can track them anywhere in the woods they are. Same thing. The other one, and so the tracking implant is more common in the nasal cavity, behind the ear, behind the base of the neck. Then we have the implant in the legs. They've been known in the hands, the wrist, and the toes. And these are oftentimes used for information. So they can track your DNA, look for DNA manipulation, things of that nature. Then you have the very unique implant that not many people know much about, and it's right smack dab in the center of your brain. And we've had clients in the past that this creates a hologram. And these people are stuck with the hologram. They can't turn it off. Can you imagine driving to work and you've got a hologram in front of you? You know how hard that'd be to drive to work?
So they've had it since they've been abducted.
Yep.
And it never goes away.
No. We've actually had...
It'd be hard for about a month, and then I think you'd adjust.
Possibly. We've had 2 clients that had those.
If it changed, though, in any way, that would make it hard.
So, according to Keith, again, with this particular implant, it's used for information upload and download. You actually, that abductee is actually tied to like a neural network where the aliens can feed information to them and extract information from them. It's kind of like an open door of communication of sorts. You can't sit there and carry on a conversation, but you can get visions of downloads and, blueprints, things of that nature. I actually had a couple people I've talked to over the years that actually got images and drew them out into blueprints or pictures. And then again, the last implant I do have a theory about, and that's the one where the hybrids have like an implant that masks their true nature of their DNA. And that's so they can go to a doctor, and, you know, as a child, go to the pediatrician, whatnot, and they can do a blood sample, and it's going to come back human. So, do we have any questions in the chat room? Don, what do you think about abduction?
I know it's not, like, I would like to, as long as nothing happened to me, I would like it to happen so it would prove to me whether or not, you know what I mean, like, it would be kind of interesting. I would like to see the technology, and because I'm a kind of tech nerd, so seeing that, but I'd be afraid of the whole surgeries and non-consensual.
You want to see a horrific. You want to see a horrific movie about abduction? Watch Travis Walton's Fire in the Sky. Have you seen that one? Have you seen that one yet?
Yeah, I have seen that one. Yeah, I have seen that one.
I haven't.
Really?
Yeah, I have to watch that still. It's not available on anything that's free right now.
Oh, you've looked?
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, how you doing tonight?
Tim's been here. Tim's just back.
So, you know, abduction can be stopped. Now, we've done it with the team in the past. It has to do with vibration. If you raise your vibrations, if you think positive, oftentimes you can stop them from taking you. There's some people that say, oh, if you call the name of Jesus, it'll stop them. No, it really won't. You know, take religion out of the equation.
It might.
In some cases,
if you say, I'll do to you what they did to Jesus, they might think about this.
So in some cases, you know, it has worked. And in those cases, I'd have to question whether they were actually aliens or if they're actually a malevolent entity that could respond to religion. I'm not saying religion won't work. I just say in 90% of the cases it won't. But there is a unique case where sometimes it will. So when we come back, we're going to talk about how to help abduction, or how to help abductees. And we have Cryptamnesia lined up, and you're going to listen to Poltergeist.
Yeah, next week you're going to be getting a new one.
Good. We got to hear, what's that one?
Bump in the Night?
Bump in the Night. That's my other one.
You guys can check them out on SoundCloud.
Check them out on SoundCloud. Look for them on YouTube. Cryptamnesia. And look for the band. It's spelled Cryptamnesia. Look for Bump of the Night or Poltergeist. Anyway, we'll be back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, cause I'm running here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire. But I cannot die, I am your poltergeist. Without I dare you to try it. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. You keep trying to kill me, but I cannot die. You try to ignore me, but I haunt you deep inside. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, 'cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire, but I cannot die. I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, you're caving in, the loss of sleep keeps you obsessing on your pride, but in the end you let me in. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, 'cause I'm rotted here tonight. Just burning like a witch, and watch as I catch fire, but I cannot die. I am your motherfucking. They say I'm evil, they say I'm dead inside. Check out my ego, 'cause I brought it here tonight. Just burn me like a witch, and watch as I catch fire, but I cannot die. I am your poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist. Oh, poltergeist, poltergeist. Poltergeist, poltergeist.
Welcome back to S4 with your host, Eric Cooper.
All right, welcome back to S4. So you just listened to Poltergeist by Cryptamnesia. They were supposed to be on tonight, but, you know, it is the holidays. I know Josh works for Best Buy. He's slammed with holiday sales and whatnot. They couldn't make it tonight. We'll try to get them onto the show probably after the holidays when I know their work schedule's gone down and whatnot. And I would just love to have them set up their instruments in your living room and just jam.
You just told all the aliens where Josh works. Now he's getting probed. Way to go.
No, not here. So, yeah, and eventually, like I was telling Tim in the chat room, they're going to make our riffs for our intros, and I can't wait for that, because I'm with you, Tim. Tim said he's an old rocker. Death metal kicks ass, and we S4 needs death metal for our show, for damn sure. So getting to how can you help abductees? You know, back in '94, I wasn't in the helping people field. I was in the research field. That's what I did. You couldn't do a whole lot, and you still really can't. You know, like I said, unless you have an astral team, astral can go in and stop abductions. But that's very risky, because it depends on what kind of abduction you're talking about. If you're just talking about the Greys and the reptilians, the mantid, they can be stopped. But when you start talking about the MyLab, that's a whole nother ballgame. That's why our team stopped doing abductions. And that's when the FMP team really started breaking, was when we took on a MyLab case. That's when, you know, me as a leader started getting questioned. Why would I put the team at risk? I had no idea I was putting the team at risk, to be honest with you. prior to the One My Lab case we took on, we handled everything. We kicked ass, we took names. But when you start coming into a case where you have a human element, i.e. the government, that changes the ballgame. That changes the perspective. Now you're dealing with an element that really can't be stopped, for one. For two, you just put your team on watch. You just put your team on their radar, and that puts the team at risk. That's why we stopped doing abduction cases. So how do you help abductees without having a kick-ass team that can go and take names? Well, there's some ways. The first step of healing with anyone is letting them know they're not alone, letting them know they're not crazy. Because that's the first word out of any client's mouth is, oh my God, you know what? You're going to think I'm crazy. And you tell them, not really. I've heard every scenario. I've seen every scenario. Guaranteed you're not crazy. This stuff happens. The sad reality is, and I've always said this, being in the paranormal, is too many people don't see UFOs, Bigfoot, cryptids as paranormal. You look at 90% of the paranormal teams out there, all they're interested in is hauntings. Bigfoot's not paranormal. Aliens aren't paranormal. And then you got the other teams that say, well, aliens aren't real. So, let me get this straight. You think ghosts and spirits are real, but, we can't believe in aliens because aliens don't exist. And you start the infighting. You got the cryptid specialists out there who say, all I care about is fighting Bigfoot. But there's no such thing as spirits. Really? How can you believe in one aspect of the paranormal but not the other? Explain that to me, Don.
I don't think that's possible. I don't think that believing in one but not the other is kind of like, if you can believe in one, you can believe in another. It's not a matter of if for me.
That's just what baffles me, is how can you be in the paranormal field? Can you explain that, Cole? I know you're over there thinking.
Well, I know.
You're at a loss of words.
Well, no, I know. The thing is, I'm trying to find something to compare it to, and the one I found is a crappy argument. But I know quite a few people that sit there and say, praise God, but the devil's not real.
Both are in the same religious text they read. Actually, no. Satan is mentioned.
But you know why they say that?
Why?
Because if they believe in God, they go to heaven. But if they believe in the devil and hell, they know where they're really going.
Okay. I get that.
If they don't believe in it, they don't have a chance of going there.
So, where does purgatory... Who believes in purgatory?
I do.
Is it the Catholics that believe in purgatory?
Yep. Cool
so,
place.
What's the Catholic belief? You go to purgatory until it's time for Christ to come back and get everybody and take them to heaven.
That's your entrance exam. Let's put it that way. It's the place you go to be judged.
Okay.
So, on one side, there's the pearly gates. On the other side, a cliff.
So one side's Bigfoot, and the other side's aliens, but spirits don't exist.
Now, there are some souls that can't go to either. They are stuck there.
You're just stuck in limbo.
Now, according to the Catholic religion, anyone who commits suicide, they are forever in purgatory.
Oh, that sucks. That's probably the ones we communicate with.
It's better than burning to hell.
Oh. So, the first step for healing is letting the abductees know they're not by themselves. They're not alone. You find them help. And we do that by trying to find them. And, this is something I tried to get going like 3 years ago, was trying to find a... What's the word for it? Peer support. Yeah, peer support group. There we go. And it would be moderated by a therapist. And it was essentially a safe place for abductees to go to meet other abductees and tell their stories. And guaranteed, they would all have something in common as far as the abduction experience. And they would start the healing process that way. The problem with that, and it's been seen historically, is a lot of these abduction support groups would be infiltrated by government. And that was always the fear of a lot of the abductees. So getting them to actually go to a support group was hard in itself. And I contacted a group in Seattle 3 years ago. And they were a contactee group, not an abductee group. So there's no point in sitting an abductee to a contactee group, because the difference here is you have contactees and you have abductees. Contactees are the people that have a wonderful, benign experience. They essentially see the aliens as wonderful beings. They're not here to harm anybody. They get wonderful messages, and they're love and light, and everything's hunky-dory. And how dare you say aliens are evil?
Those are the ones that I say, hey, you're crazy.
Yeah. Oh, God. So I've got haters out there. I do. I know that. I've had people actually say, how dare you say aliens are bad? And my response is, I've never said all aliens are bad. There's good races, there's bad races. How can you say all aliens are bad? Are all humans bad? No, they're not.
Yes. They are.
And there's good reptilians, there's bad reptilians. There's good greys, there's bad greys.
Every life form has good and evil within it.
I can get on board with that. But does that make all aliens evil?
Yes.
No, it doesn't.
But all aliens are good as well. It just depends on where you're standing.
So if you look at the scientific point of it, and that's why we got involved with the abduction side anyway. And, like I've explained to some paranormal groups and even experiencers is, you can go in and you can clear a house of a spirit. You can stop a haunting. That's easy. That is the easy part. The hard part, abductees, prior to the team stopping, I still remember the first case we actually stopped, and he's probably actually listening to the show tonight. But abductees can't stop their experience. You can't stop an abduction. It's not like we can just run in there and clear the house and the abduction stop. It doesn't work that way. So when you talk about the terror aspect, the fear aspect, you can't take that away from an abductee. You can take it away from the one that's being haunted. Because once you clear it, they know it's gone. And it doesn't come back usually. Until something else happens and something else comes in. And then, a team goes in and clears that. So saying there's no such thing as abduction, tell that to the abductee. So when I talked to this group in Seattle, they said, well, we're not an abduction support group. We're a contactee support group. We like hearing each other's stories about the contacts they've experienced and the wonderful messages they get from these aliens. So you're not going to send an abductee to that kind of group because they're going to get scoffed at and made to feel even worse. So what you need to have is an abduction support group that is secure. You screen everybody. You make sure there's not going to be any kind of government intervention or government, spies, for lack of a better word. Because, believe it or not, the government does get interested in abductees. They want to know who's taking them, and can we make a contract with them for weapons? That's the first thing that goes into their head. It's been proven. That's why originally the alien contract between Truman didn't go through, because they wanted weapons technology, not medical technology, which was being offered. So, for anyone that's listening, the first thing you want to do is start a journal. If you're having dreams of aliens, if you're having dreams that are kind of questionable, start a dream journal. And that can be as simple as a notebook with a pen sitting on a nightstand by your bed. And you want to put the date, the time, a description, any pictures in your mind that you can remember, and the weather. Why the weather? Because the weather can influence your dreams. You're asleep and lightning hits outside, that can actually manipulate your dreams.
It's close enough it can manipulate your pants.
That's true too. So you want to start a dream journal and you want to look at patterns. So does the same, do you have the same kind of activity on the same time of the month? The same hour of the night? These are things you look at. What are the messages that are coming through your dreams? Do you remember seeing any kind of entity? Draw a picture of them if you can. So let's talk about hypnotherapy. So be careful with that. And I say be careful with that for many reasons. For one, Dr. Jacobs, I would stand behind hands down. He still does it, to my knowledge. And he's always been valid, to my knowledge. He's the one who wrote the book, and he's written 4 or 5 books on the abduction scenario over the years. With hypnotherapy, there was a study done, and there was your base group and your control group. And when it was all said and done, because of the style and the way they asked the questions, both groups of people walked out believing they were abductees. Because if they're asking leading questions, it plants that thought process in the hypnotic mind that it really happened. So if you want to see a great movie, watch Fourth Kind. And some will say, oh, it wasn't based on fact. Yeah, actually it was. Because a lot of people kind of equate that to Blair Witch Project, in that it was a fake movie. No, that was a real case. That was a real, there really was a hypnotherapist that was working in Nome, Alaska.
Actually, that is one of the few movies that actually scared me.
Well, it should.
But that's before I became involved with the ufology area.
Mm-hmm.
That one actually terrified me. Like, I could still watch any scary movie that you throw out
but you haven't watched Fire in the Sky yet, have you?
No.
That one might terrify you. I'll have to see if I've got that one at the house. My problems with hypnotherapy, there's many. One, make sure you have a valid therapist that's doing it. And be careful. Because do you really want to open that door? Your mind shut that door for a reason. By opening that door, you're going to confront some demons. And I say that figuratively, not literally. but some memories of things that have happened to you that you may not want to deal with, that your mind might not want to deal with. There was a case in Texas with a long haul driver who was on the road, and his wife called him terrified. And this is as recent as 2012, I believe. Maybe even more recent than that particular case. And he raced back home. She was in the hospital. She described being abducted. She described the creatures. He went back home. He actually found a landing site in his backyard. So there was physical evidence as well. He thought she was fine. It's like a month later, a couple weeks later. He thought she was fine. She wanted to commit suicide. So be careful what you do, folks. I mean, I'm a firm advocate on conscious recall versus hypnotherapy, hands down. Using conscious recall, your mind's going to work slower, be able to accept some of the memories that you might on your own recall versus having somebody rip that door open and having you confront these things. And that's where the dream journal comes in. And I might be out of the paranormal field pretty much, but I am here for questions. I can be reached anytime. I just don't handle cases anymore. But I can help you answer questions anytime. So, any questions? You got any questions, Don?
No, actually, I mean, do you have any stories of anyone that you know personally that has gone up there and come back down? I know I'm kind of asking a loaded question, but
you talking about abductees in general? I know a lot of abductees.
Yeah.
I know a lot of abductees in general. Because that's what we've done over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And going back to before 15 years, I got involved in the abduction UFO field in '94, and back then we didn't have Facebook. We didn't have, I actually used a Yahoo group, and I talked to abductees a lot through ICQ. Now that shows my age, a lot. Who remembers ICQ? That was a little tiny flower. And it was basically your online communication before Facebook. And back then you used Yahoo Messenger and ICQ or Cheetah Chat. And back then Excite.com was the platform you used. Yahoo was around back then too, but you didn't have Firefox and all the other platforms you got today. I think Google might have been young back then even. But back then too, you had CAUSE, Citizens Against UFO Secrecy, led by Peter Gersten. And he was actually a lawyer. So what I would do, I was in 3rd Army back then, stationed at Fort McPherson, Atlanta, Georgia. And I'd be put on 24-hour duty a lot, because that's what we did. And so I would use the computer back then, and I would be printing all these different alien interaction cases. And they had emails with them. So I'd email these people. And I'd get lots more, a lot more interaction with actual people. And what really pissed me off was I joined MUFON back then. And that's why I really don't like MUFON, because back then I was a field investigator for the Georgia MUFON. And their take on abduction at that time was, there's no such thing as abduction. It didn't happen. These are crackpots. They didn't, aliens don't take people. UFOs are kind of skeptical that UFOs are human-made. They debunked everything. and made crap up. They weren't there to help anybody, and I don't think they are today. Honestly, don't. So that's where I started. So I have one guy that I talk to all the time. He was in Denver, Colorado, and this is back in the mid-90s. And he was talking about earthquakes under the ground. He was talking about vibrations and humming noises under the ground. Well, come to find out, 15, 20 years later, they've got that base under the Denver airport. And anybody can tell you that's real. Look at Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theories. He actually went down there. And you can see the Illuminati signs painted on the walls and everything. And, those are artist renditions. So, I'm thinking here. We had the hybrid case in Texas, and that was just a few years ago. And we had a client, his daughter was a hybrid, or is a hybrid. She was 14. He recalls his wife was abducted. And that's why I say, we do have cases where the females have been abducted, they've been implanted, and they actually had a natural childbirth here on Earth. That's the new phase of the Gray Hybrid program. So, we know what's happening. I've had other abductees that have talked about, so the aliens don't understand pain. So they don't understand why, they're doing these medical experiments, and I know, you're smirking, probing, of, abductees. And they don't understand why these people are screaming. So they'll do what's called a mind scan, and that's where they put their eyes they get their face to face with you, and they actually calm you down. Telepathically. And you don't feel the pain anymore. So, types of abduction. So you have the Gray Hybrid program. We've gone over that. You've got the medical experiments. We've gone over that. Now you've got the social experiments. So, with the social experiments, these are the abductees that are taken up, and they'll perform a mind scan on these people while they're watching on a TV screen, or essentially their alien version of a TV screen. It's just a projection on the wall, basically. But it looks like a TV. And they're shown, this lovely field of flowers, and it's a nice meadow, and it's peaceful. And then they're shown a nuclear bomb. And then they're shown a nice placid lake. A nice peaceful, serene scene. And then they're shown a riot or a war. And what they're doing is they're watching the emotional aspect of humans. These are social experiments.
But nowadays, you do that to a kid, and they're going to sit there very bored, nuclear explosion. Awesome!
Right? It's probably quite confusing for the social scientists of the aliens. Go ahead and take a soldier up and show them a sign of war, and they're going, "Oh yeah, kill them all, yeah, get them." I'm sorry. I think you and I would be kind of excited over a scene of war, won't we, Don? Hey, that looks like. Hey, that was Kirkuk. Yeah, that was Iraq. Why are you showing me this? Yeah. And again, I think it's, the violent prone of the human race. I don't... You take the innocent person and you show them a sign of war and they've never seen anything but what's on the news, you might get a more of a reaction. And I think it depends on the kid. You take a kid who doesn't play violent video games, and you show them a violent video game, they're going to have a more terrified reaction. But you take a kid that plays, what's that war game?
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. You show them a war scene, and they're going to be more excited. So, I think it's going to depend.
You asked earlier, where did probing come from?
Okay.
So I have an idea on that. The word probing means just violated by an object.
Right.
If you're just violated by an object, that could be through any orifice. Or not even through an orifice. Probing could mean putting in an implant. But
it could.
Now to a human, when you say the word probing, and they say we were violated.
Yeah.
What is the worst type of violation?
Up the anus.
So when you just leave it to their imagination, maybe that's where it came from, is the fact that abductees have been talking about it, but it expanded from that in people's imagination.
And that could be, and if you watch Fire in the Sky, they actually show him being probed by a needle through the eyeball. You know. And I believe they actually put something up his nose which, you know, looking at it from a ufologist's perspective, that would be the implant they're putting in the nasal cavity.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay. And that makes more sense on that perspective. But as far as them putting stuff up the human butt, I've never actually even heard of that until it was brought up, you know, on Independence Day.
Really? Because I heard about that like when I was 7.
For real?
Absolutely.
I've never.
You get the little kids at Halloween walking around in alien costumes, and they're like, "I'm gonna probe you."
Yes. So you hear more in the sexual context. You hear actually more from people with hauntings than you do from the abduction side. I've noticed that. When you look at patterns, you hear more of the sexual nature of paranormal experiences coming from the haunting side than you do the alien abduction side. So you could argue that point with the hybrid program, yes. But when you talk about the probing part sexually, it comes more from demonic entities that aren't really demonic. They're just malevolent. There is no demonic nature to most of those cases. So it gets interesting in this field when you're in it as deep as we have been, and when you have cases to refer back to. And yeah, it's late, and I'm thinking. But next week, we are going to have our holiday roundtable. And yeah, we're still a ways out from Christmas. And we'll have our holiday roundtable in December. But this is our pre-Christmas holiday roundtable. So it's right in the middle of Thanksgiving and Christmas. Perfect time. So start thinking of your questions involving holiday paranormal, Don.
All right, that sounds like fun.
So originally, according to the schedule, we were supposed to talk about Black Friday. But that's just boring to me. To me, Black Friday is just a bunch of stupid people that are excited about some 50-cent socks in a Walmart. Nothing really paranormal to that.
That's not true.
Okay, what's not true about it?
There are some very demonic women when you arrive at Black Friday.
Women? What about men? Oh my God. Yeah, look at the fights that break out in the department stores.
That's true. The husbands that are sitting in those chairs, and they have the one chair in Walmart. waiting for their wives? Yes. There is a fight to the death for that chair.
I still remember the whole fighting over the TV crap. You know, it's really, come on, people. You can find that on Amazon.com for less than you can at most of these stores. You know, I think Cyber Tuesday is probably cheaper than Black Friday. No?
It's still not.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think it's Walmart this year. Our Walmart here has a 55-inch TV for $99.
Seriously? And I'm paying Aaron $700? That's all on interest. So we have about 20 minutes left of the show, and for our locals that are listening, you know, most of you have heard already about the family that is suffering from their house being burned, and we're getting a phenomenal response on helping them. You know, people donating furniture, clothes, toys for the kids. And it's been great. Now, I'm proud of this community because having run the Upriver Community Concrete Group for 5 years now, I gotta say, you know, as much as negativity you see in the group all the time, anytime there is a disaster or a fire or a family's put out, this community pulls together and takes care of business. They do. And it's refreshing because you see all the negative crap in the world and all the fights and the riots and the school shootings and the bombings and the, you know, fill in the blank. But this community pulls together and helps. We got to say, Upriver takes care of Upriver. Hands down. So, it's been a busy week. I got done with my last assignment for the class I'm in now, which is writing for managers. I start diversity in the workplace on Monday, and then I am done. And I'm so ready to be done with school. Folks, if you're about to take college, don't jump from one degree to the next right away. Take a break. I found that the hard way. I mean, not really, but yeah, I'm burnt out. I got done with my associates May of 2017, jumped right into my bachelor's June of 2017, and yeah, no, it gets you burnt out really quick. So if you're a student in college, take a break between degrees if you're going to pursue it, because you'll burn out quick. Ask Tony. But Tony's taking multiple credits at a time, so. Anyway, we got any comments, any questions in the chat room before we wrap it up? And we'll wait and we'll talk. And what do you think? Is it going to snow? Is it going to snow in California, Don?
It'll snow about 30 minutes away from me, 45 minutes away from me. But where I'm at, I'm in a valley. I'm like right at sea level, so I'm not going to be hitting any snow anytime soon.
Oh, that sucks, because it's supposed to start snowing here on Monday. Monday night, it's calling for snow.
Shut up.
That's got to be fun. I miss Germany. Having the snow just reminded me of Germany.
Oh, dude. Yeah. You know what sucked, though, was doing PT on cobblestone.
Cobblestone, and it was just right between the seasons changed, and you still wear your little boy shorts and your T-shirt running out in the cold, snow on the ground.
I'm going to say
it was wonderful.
As much as I hated mop gear. So for listeners that don't know what mop gear, that's mission-oriented protective posture. That's your MBC gear, your chemical gear. So we had to run once a month for about 5 miles with our mask and mop gear on. Now, it's hard enough to breathe with just the mask on. And then to run in it? Yeah, no. That wasn't fun. But the Colonel is smart in that we're going to run in mop gear because it's 20 degrees out and the mop gear adds 30 degrees to your body heat. Have you ever had to run in mop gear, Don?
In basic training, and by the time I was in my regular unit, the chemical, like, it wasn't a priority for them, so I didn't have to do it outside of basic training.
And bear in mind, back when, I first started, mop gear was still the OD green with charcoal inside it. And the M8 gas mask with a hood. Now, they're in camouflaged, I think there's still a charcoal base inside it, but you don't get it all over your uniform. And there's no hood. There's a hood on the actual uniform, but there's no, it's much easier to put the mask on, and it's got a canister to it instead. They're always upgrading, they're always improving their gear.
When I was in basic training, we still had the hood.
Yeah. And now they have the M40 mask. Well, they probably have something new by now, but before I got out, it was still the M40, which had the canister to it, which is much easier to manipulate and put on. So, all right, you got any last-minute comments? How do we find Patreon, Cole?
You go to patreon.com, that's Patreon, and search for FMP/S4 Paranormal. And then just click on whichever package you'd like. Every package has some great deals up there, so for just $50 per month, you get an FMP S4 ceramic mug. You receive the benefits of Tier 1, the benefits of Tier 2, which are some great benefits there, including some of our informational documents, such as Procedures, Paranormal 101, and How to Protect Yourself. You also receive... Oh, no, that's it. But you do get a lot from that one. You get a shout-out each month during our roundtable show on S4. We have an even bigger package for like $25 a month, I believe it is. $25 a month. And with that one, you do receive an S4 t-shirt or FMP t-shirt. We'll see what you get that month. And you will receive 6 redacted case files from the FMP team. These will not include any names, locations, or personal information. You get one every second month, so that's a pretty good deal right there.
Excellent.
Also, for anyone in the U.S. celebrating Thanksgiving this Thursday, happy Thanksgiving to you. Know that we are thankful for you for being our listeners. And for anyone in Canada, I was thankful for you last month, so...
Excellent. And we always give a shout out, and I gotta say, for our listener in Chile, thank you for listening. You guys are great. Yeah. I always check our geo locations, and I'm always, I'm always shocked by some of the countries that listen to us. It's awesome. We really get out there. We've had listeners in Vietnam, South Africa, Croatia, Honduras. How you doing, Bobby? So yeah, y'all have a great night. Have a great Thanksgiving. And stay tuned for our roundtable next week. And stay safe out there, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight on S4, the official voice of Forest Moon Paranormal. You can contact S4 through our website at www.s-4radio.com or on Facebook. Make sure you give us a like on our page and join the Forest Moon Paranormal group. If you are interested in advertising, take a look at our packages and contact Cole or Eric at 1-360-999-2830. Again, thank you. And remember, keep your eyes to the sky.